here's Brody Brazil.
Fans of the Minnesota Twins were caught completely off guard yesterday to find out that their baseball team either has been or soon will be officially up for sale. And I say caught off guard because nobody really saw this coming. There were no leaks or rumors or real speculation like any tangible evidence something like this would happen. The Pohlad family has owned this baseball team since the mid-'80s, and so to have this announcement kind of out of the blue, out of nowhere, it is a bit surprising to fans of the Twins. They have a lot of questions, and we'll dive into some of that later on in the video. But as for the background on this, let's begin with the Pohlad family. Carl bought the team in 1984. He passed away in 2009. And so since then, the team has been owned by the family and generations of it. Carl has 20 grandchildren. One of them, Joe, was named the executive chair of the Minnesota Twins in late 2022. Well, going into the 2024 season, this past one that's just about to be finished here with the playoffs, the Twins cut their payroll by about $30 million. They also, at the end of this regular season, did not qualify for the playoffs. They lost 29 of their final 39 games. Now, I'm not here to associate the payroll cut or necessarily the end of this season with the selling of the team or putting it up for sale or even taking offers, but it kind of paints a better picture now in reverse of maybe the direction of how things were going and possibly what ultimately led to this statement yesterday. A letter from the Pohlad family says this, and I apologize, the text and font is so small, but I'll read it to you here. For the past 40 seasons, the Minnesota Twins have been part of our family's heart and soul. This team is woven into the fabric of our lives, and the Twins community has become an extension of our family. The players, the staff, and most importantly, you, the fans, everyone who makes up this unbelievable organization is part of that. We've never taken lightly the privilege of being stewards of this franchise. However, after months of thoughtful consideration, our family reached a decision this summer to explore selling the Twins. As we enter the next phase of this process, the time is right to make this decision public. We truly respect and cherish what the Twins mean to Minneapolis, St. Paul, and the great state of Minnesota, and this entire region. Our goal is to be as informative as possible with the team, staff, and you, the fans. You deserve that because in so many ways, this team doesn't belong to any one family. It belongs to all of you. It's our objective to find an ownership group who all of us can be proud of and who will take care of the Minnesota Twins. After 4 decades of commitment, passion, and countless memories, we are looking towards the future with care and intention for our family, the Twins organization, and this community we love so much. So again, the initial shock brings questions of like, will the Twins stay in Minnesota? And from what I understand, they do have a lease at Target Field for at least the next 15 years. And, well, that lease is what kept the Minnesota Twins a baseball team in the early 2000s when they were facing contraction. So there are some obligations, but I think you can read into the quote there, find an ownership who all of us can be proud of and who will take care of the Minnesota Twins. The Pohlad family has the choice of who they sell the team to, if in fact that's what they're going to do, and it could be a stipulation of the sale that they make sure the next generation of owners that they keep the team in Minnesota at Target Field. Again, I completely understand why fans might have the concern. This was a franchise that almost faced contraction in the early 2000s, and they're a smaller market team. So there would be that natural question of, well, ownership change, what does that mean for keeping the team here in Minnesota? It's also a fan base and a franchise that is not used to having ownership turnover. There's been only 2 ownership groups since 1920. The Griffith family owned the team from 20 to 1984, and then the Pohlad family has been the only other ownership group in modern times. How many other teams have only gone through 2 sets of ownership groups since the 1920s? So the Twins have been very fortunate to be stable from the ownership front. Is something imminent? It's certainly interesting to look at the language there where the family says they realized over the course of this past summer that it was the right time to explore this opportunity of a sale. This did not just come up yesterday. And to be clear, with all those family members and grandchildren that are involved and have a stake in this, yeah, you'd have to think that there were some large-scale discussions that went on over the course of the majority of this past baseball season. I also find the other language interesting here, exploring a sale versus maybe something is close, something is right around the corner, and the family wanted to get in front of this. Maybe there is a new ownership group already lined up or very much in line to be the next owners of this team. And so the Pohlad family didn't want to surprise everybody and say, well, here's the owners. We're going to run through a process here. We didn't want to surprise anybody with the sale. We're first going to announce we're exploring the sale, but we've got somebody kind of already in the loop. And so I think making it public was strategic in some way because they were sitting on this for quite some time. Why does it come out here and now, 10 days into October? It was either an advertisement for the fact that they want everybody to know that this team is up for sale, and if you want to buy a baseball team, here we are. They're trying to generate maybe interest and opportunity and maybe eventually the sale price, or they're trying to get ahead of this and prevent rumors because 20 grandchildren, that's a lot of people that could talk. They didn't want this to leak, or like I said before, maybe they are actually close to figuring out a deal with a new ownership group. Speaking of the sale, what that might look like, there is an interesting comp. Like if you do real estate, you look at comps. What would this house sell for versus other houses in a similar neighborhood of the same size and build, all that stuff. The Baltimore Orioles sold at the beginning of this baseball season back in March for $1.725 billion to the Baltimore native David Rubenstein. And by the way, that sale also included a part share of Masson, the Mid-Atlantic Sports Network. So not just the baseball team, but part of the TV network that goes with it. But the point is, now we have a better grasp on what a similar baseball team sold for. 1.725. Baltimore, valuation-wise, via Forbes, they had been ranked 18th of the 30 teams in baseball, with the Minnesota Twins not far behind, but just a little bit lesser value, 21st overall. Forbes has the Twins' valuation right now at $1.46 billion. They also say that the team's operating income was about $19 million in this 2024 season. Now, I mention all of this because having a comp like the Orioles for the Minnesota Twins ownership group, it just may have inspired the Pohlad family to understand exactly what they think their team could be sold for, what the profit might be, what they might be getting out of this sale. And yeah, you can already start to kind of pinpoint right around the $1.5 billion region. I also think that this was a factor that not enough people are talking about. The Twins are one of 6 baseball teams starting next year to have their broadcasts be taken over by MLB in a respective streaming package. But again, the challenge and problem there is that the money generated by the MLB deal is going to be nowhere near what they used to get from Bally Sports, and prior to that, I think Fox Sports North. I mean, MLBTradeRumors.com says that in 2023, the value to the Twins of that rights package paid by the network was $54 million. So I don't know what it was here in 2024, but if it's anywhere in the $50 million range, that's a lot less revenue and income going to the team. And maybe that inspired the Pohlad family to say, you know what? The business and the model of this is changing, and this is a good time for us to get out of this. And again, going back to that 2001 contraction, I do feel like this is why a lot of Twins fans are on edge right now, why they feel a little bit sketchy about change in the ownership group and even the Pohlad family, how it was handled in the early 2000s, because the Twins and Expos, they were bound to be contracted. Their franchises were bound to end. A lot of people forget about this. And before the day and age of relocating teams and having markets go against each other in public funding and what will you give us and what will you give us, baseball was flat out back then ready to say, if you don't like this and we can't get a new stadium in Minnesota, we're going to contract our teams. We were just going to take away the teams. That's what baseball said. The ultimate thing that kept the Twins in Minnesota was the fact that they had a long-term lease that still had to be upheld at the Metrodome. And so even after MLB owners voted 28-2 in favor of contraction, the only 2 teams that voted against this were obviously the Twins and the Expos, baseball largely voted to go forward with contraction. But the law got involved, the government got involved, that lease at the Metrodome had to be upheld. So the Twins were that close to not even being a thing after the 2001 season, and MLB was going to pay the owners, including the Pohlad family, a $250 million buyout in exchange for their team. Just think about that. So 23 years ago, $250 million was going to buy out the team, and now the team might sell for $1.5 billion. It's a lot of multiplication right there. Anyway, it's big news. We'll see where this goes. I understand the surprise of it. I understand the concern by Twins fans. You would just have to hope that the Pohlad family understands, as they mentioned, what the team means to the community, the legacy of the family. If they don't sell this to the right group with the right intentions and the right promises intact, yeah, it could get messy. So there is a lot on the line here. You're hoping that trust and the right people and the right decisions are all put into place here. And then ultimately, maybe the Twins spend more money. Maybe the Twins double down on their payroll. Maybe they're a more consistent playoff team. I know it goes both ways. There's uncertainty about the future with the Twins fans, but there's also a hope that maybe things could get better and be done a little bit differently. So I wish them the best of luck. And no, I don't want the Minnesota Twins going anywhere. You made it here to the end of this video. You know I really appreciate that. Thumbs up down below. That greatly helps me in this video and this channel. I would also like it real quick, if you do it before this video ends, go down there and make sure you are subscribed to this channel. That way I definitely get to see you back here next time.